number 6, Letters to Dennis, A Dedication of Love by Bob Tussler. We're continuing February 24th. I was over at her house one time and had finally graduated to feeling comfortable playing with Cliffy Chapin, the neighborhood kid. They had this large playpen in their yard that was the coolest thing around. It was some homemade deal that was nothing more than a bunch of wood with chicken wire wrapped around it. Don't even know why it was there other than to collect shit from all the blackbirds that ate in the mulberry tree. Anyway, this one day we took Graham's clothesline props and put them across the playpen. These clothesline props were nothing more than long pieces of wood that Graham had painted green. She used them to hold up the clothesline so the wet laundry wouldn't touch the ground. When you take one playpen, 3 clothesline props, and a child's imagination, you transform the afternoon into a day at the circus. I was going to be a tight wire walker and go across the ropes that were straddled across the top of the playpen. I was halfway across when Kim Blazer, the neighborhood girl from across the street, yelled out, "Hi, Bobby!" Being the attention-deprived child that I was, turned to acknowledge her and plummeted 2.5 feet to the ground. The next thing I knew, I was being rushed to St. Mary's Hospital to have a broken arm set. No big deal. I got to wear a cast, and the very few children I was allowed to play with thought it was the coolest thing around. Yep, I had people write on it and everything. For once, I was getting some attention. Now it's my turn to babysit while the children are out playing. My grandmother is in from Florida now with her annual stay from Wisconsin. This is the first time in 15 years that she hasn't stayed a significant duration of time with me. Went to Clearwater to pick her up at her niece's house. I think she was really surprised to see what excellent physical condition I'm in. We hugged, we cried, and I was grateful we could do both of these things. Later she told me she was expecting to see me all hunched over and walking really slow. As a matter of fact, when I left the car and the two of you were alone, I understand she looked at you and said, "Now tell me the truth about my boy." This is the truth, Graham. Sometimes I don't believe it myself, and why I lose sight of it, I just don't know. 4 days after surgery, I walked out of the hospital on my own. 1 day later, I'm walking around the neighborhood, and 2 weeks later, I'm back at the gym. I have no side effects, excellent memory and motor skills, and no seizure activity. This is the truth about you, Graham, you boy, Graham. God certainly has blessed me. February 25th, Dear Dennis. Man, am I getting tired of all this shit. Radiation every day, thoughts always occupied with cancer, and now my hair is falling out in clumps. And you come at me with this bullshit about you have to remain positive. Let me tell you, it's pretty hard to do all the time. I have my moments where I do quite well, and then have those times when I just fall apart. At least now I can recognize that I'm not depressed and hopeless all the time like I used to be. Perhaps the antidepressant has something to do with it. I'm really glad I decided to take it. At least my mood is elevated to a point where I can see some hope and future. I'm looking forward to the play at the Performing Arts Center. Hey, what was that? A positive statement? Looking forward to. The play was great, and for the entire performance, I didn't think about the cancer once. I guess it is possible. Even went outside with Norman and Marge at intermission and made jokes. What do you think? Maybe life can go on. February 26th. Dear Dennis, just don't know what happened to all that positive stuff from yesterday. Maybe I should just recognize that I'm going to have good emotional days and bad ones, just like I did before the cancer, and stop making an issue out of it. Ha, easier said than done. February 27th. Dear Dennis, God, what has happened to my hair? I used to have so much of it. Now I look like an egg that's been rolled in some lint. I suppose my hair falling out is an indicator that the radiation is doing what it's supposed to do. I don't know if I ever shared with you the visualization I'm doing during radiation. I've been doing it for several weeks now. I imagine it as a box where the tumor used to be. Just before radiation begins, I hear this humming sound. is during the humming sound that I imagine the top of the box being pulled back. When I first started doing this, inside the box were these many barnacle-like deposits, many of them opening and closing. When the treatment actually begins, I hear a very high-pitched sound. During that time, I imagine a laser beam shooting into this box and destroying those barnacles. Each time I do this, I see more and more barnacles being destroyed. Hope it's symbolic. February 28th. Dear Dennis, happy first day at the St. Petersburg Hilton. Went to work today and actually had a productive day. Felt like I was somewhat useful again instead of doing that boring quality assurance stuff. Finished work and just barely had enough time to get my radiation treatment. Did the visualization thing again, but today when the top of the box pulled back, the barnacles were gone halfway down the sides. I changed the pinpoint laser beam to a sort of broad field spray beam and saturated the walls. Only 2.5 more weeks of radiation according to the original play. Perhaps by that time I can really clean up the box.